If I had to take a wild stab in the dark, I would say you probably want better clients. Whether that's clients that pay you more money, whether that's clients that treat you more like a partner rather than a worker, or whether it's clients that you just enjoy working with a bit more. In today's episode of the Creative Courage Podcast, I'm going to break down 3 critical things that you must get right if you want better clients. And I see founders making this mistake every single week. So let's get into it. I want you to imagine that I've asked you to run an errand for me, and I'm going to get you to go to a station in your city that's like a very busy station. There's lots and lots of people that go through that station every single day, and I want you to find somebody for me. That's your errand. That's your mission. You're probably going to have a few questions, right? The first one is, okay, who am I looking for? What do they look like? And if I just said to you, well, they're a man, they're quite tall, how easy do you think it's going to be for you to find that person? You're going to have to go up to every single man who's tall, whatever that means to you, and ask them if it's them, right? So this is exactly what founders are doing every single week. They say they want better clients. And then I say, okay, cool. Who's your ideal client? And they say, oh, like small businesses, or anyone who values branding, or somebody who's looking for a website and really has a visionary brand. Well, that is literally the equivalent of a tall man in a station, right? It's so hard to find those people because it's so unspecific. More importantly, if we want those people as clients, we don't know enough about them in order to actually get their attention and build their trust. So if you want clients to pay you money, you have to demonstrate that you understand their problems and their pain points, and that you understand them probably better than somebody else, and you can solve them. And so I think traditionally as creatives, we often think like, well, I just want clients who need the thing that I offer or sell, or I just want clients that get it, right? They just get branding. Well, most of the time, if the clients get branding, they're either working on it already themselves, or they're looking for someone who is already in their network, who is established as somebody that creates amazing brands. And if that's not you, then you basically won't get a shot. So I talk about this idea of marketing based on an audience persona rather than based on a service that you sell. And this has been a big shift for a lot of my clients. It's allowed them to attract people who will spend more money, who will treat them like a creative partner, who are more fun to work with, see them as a guide, and more importantly, they get to have more impact. So I'm going to break down what are the things that we need to know. Well, the first thing we need to know, I've just alluded to, is who are they? But I don't just mean like, are they a man or a woman? Are they a business owner? We need to get as specific as possible. So I'll give you an example of what I typically hear, and then I'll give you an example of what that ends up as once we've worked on this ideal client persona. So for example, recently I was working with a creative studio and they already had a bit of a niche. Their niche was within motorsport. And I said to them, who's your ideal client? And they said, it's typically racing drivers, but it could also be sponsors. And sometimes we work with these people, right? And so I was like, well, you've got all these different people you can help. Like, who are we going to focus on? Who do you want more of? And they were like, well, actually, what we really want more of is racing drivers. And I said, great. Okay, cool. And tell me more about this racing driver. What league do they race in? Are they like Formula Ford? Is it Formula One racing drivers? And they're like, well, it depends. And I said, okay, cool. Well, we need to pick one, right? And so we kept going down. And so what I get my clients to do is actually have someone specific in their mind. And they're like, well, there's this driver that we helped a while ago, and it was really successful because of, and he started to list all the reasons. I was like, great, let's focus on this person. So the first step to get clear and choose who you want to attract more of. And I know there's lots of different people that you could work with and lots of people you could help, but we just want to pick one for now. First thing to think about is, out of all the clients I've worked with in the past, who are the ones that we got great results for? Like, they were really raving about us. They paid us kind of what we wanted to be paid. They were fun to work with. Like, we actually liked that person. And I could easily start more conversations with people like that. So if you've got somebody like that in your portfolio of clients, just start with them. Now, a lot of people don't have someone that ticks all of those 4 boxes because they've never really had an ideal client. So you want to narrow that down and you want to pick one that is closest to that. So maybe there's someone you loved working with, but they didn't really pay you what you wanted, or your rates were way lower back then or whatever. Okay, great. Well, that's a good start because we can use different strategies to get people to pay us more money, right? So pick somebody that you've worked with in the past. If you are slightly earlier on in your career, and maybe you don't have a huge portfolio, just think of somebody that fits those criteria, right? But ideally, you've got a strong portfolio. So that's number one. We want to think about who is that person, and we want to get as detailed as possible. We want to describe them. And the litmus test for this is when you describe it to somebody, can they think of someone in their head? Can they picture this person in their mind? Oh yeah, I imagine James, he's racing in Formula Ford right now, but he wants to get up into Formula One and he's looking for sponsors, and these are his struggles. He's trying to stand out from the other drivers and this and that. Okay, cool. I've got a really good idea of James. Now, I use this test all the time for my clients. I don't know all of these people, but when somebody describes it to me, if I can imagine what that person is like in their head, I know we're onto something. So the first thing that we need to know is, who is this person? Can we describe them like that, as if they're a real person? The second thing that we need to know, if we want better clients, or if we want our ideal clients more consistently, is what are they frustrated with right now? What's happening in their world that is a frustration or a pain point for them? Now, I'll talk a little bit more about mistakes and I'll use some examples again in a minute. So a common mistake when I ask founders this question is they say they're really not happy with their brand right now, or they don't know how to use video in the right way. And I can almost guarantee that unless that person is right at the point where they're thinking about a rebrand or they're thinking about launching video content strategy, that's not what their frustration is. That's what you think their frustration is when they come to you about working with you, because that's what they tell you, because we don't particularly ask very good questions, right? So we think that these are their challenges, but I mean what's going on in their world day to day, separate from video, branding, the thing that you sell, what's actually happening in their world. Because one of the keys to getting more of the clients that you want is you have to meet them where they are. And there's a phrase that I've talked about loads on this podcast, which is, if you want to attract the right kind of clients, you have to get really good at articulating their problems better than they can. And the way that you do that is you meet them where they currently are. So just kind of like the way that I'm talking about this now, you hopefully in your head, you're thinking, oh yeah, I've done that. Or, oh yeah, I have those things, right? I've had thousands of conversations with creatives over the last 10 years. And so I know what's going on in your world, right? I understand what's happening in your world because I'm really listening. When I have those conversations, I'm really listening to people. What are they frustrated with? I'm just frustrated with the stress that comes from not knowing where the next project's coming from. I hate it when I'm looking at my inbox all the time, refreshing it, hoping that I've got a reply from that proposal I sent out last week and hoping that they're going to say yes. That feeling in the pit of my stomach. I'm what if this doesn't come off? Where's the next project going to come from? I'm actually listening to what people are saying to me and I'm using their words. So this is what you need to do for your ideal client. So once you've got that person, I want you to start writing down a list of things that might be going on in their world. Now, if you don't know where to start with this, there's 2 ways that you can do it. There's a fast way and an easy way, and there's a slightly slower way, but it's more powerful. The fast and easy way is to use something like ChatGPT and say, hey, this is my ideal client. What do you think some of the frustrations and pain points are? It will come up with some. It's a good start, and you can test that in the market. It also will come up with some stuff that might not necessarily be true because it's just making stuff up, right? The best way is to actually go and ask those people. So if you've had a client like that in the past, go back to them and say, hey, what were you frustrated with before you engaged with us, before you started thinking about video? What was going on in your world? Was it a lack of exposure? Did you feel like your competitors were winning your business? What was the thing that was actually happening in your world? Okay, so that's number 2. The third thing is we've got to get clear on what they really want. What do they want more of? And I often ask my clients, I often say, when I'm asking people what they want, I often say, if you just had a magic wand, finish this sentence for me. This week, if I just had more, insert the blank, right? My life would be so much better. What would you put in that blank? If I just had more this week, my life would be so much better. And it might be, if I just had more free time, if I just had more employees that listen to what I said or whatever, right? They want more of this. Okay, great. Now we can start thinking about what frustrates them, what they want more of. Now there's a bit of a gap, right? And this exists for everybody. Everybody has a gap. Everybody has something in their life and business that they're not 100% happy with, right? There's no one I know on planet Earth that doesn't have an area of their life that they don't want some kind of improvement with. Maybe like some monk somewhere who is just peaceful and happy and like doesn't need anything. But most people in the business world that I know, they're always striving for the next thing, right? Now, the more specific you can be with these things, the easier it's going to be for you to gain traction and create marketing and assets that really attract the right kind of clients. The more specific. So I'll go back to the example with the studio that helps racing drivers, right? What they specifically wanted is they wanted to stand out to sponsors. So if you just think about this for a second, broad, generic creative studio, then we're going one layer in. Oh, I work in the motorsport industry. Then we're going, oh, we're just helping drivers in Formula Ford get to Formula One, super specific. And what they really want is they want to stand out and they want to attract the right sponsors. Great. Now we can think about what do we do to help them get that result, right? And so that's the third thing. Second is what they are frustrated with. Third is what they want more of. And fourth thing is how we help them with that. So like, what's our process, right? And so this is the key. People really worry that if they give all their best ideas away for free, and if they talk about their process, then clients will just go and do it without them. But in my experience, that's not true. Because the people that have lots of money and not a lot of time, they want someone to do it for them, but they want someone that they trust. And the way that you build that trust is you show them the solution, you show them the insight, you meet them where they are in terms of their frustrations and desires. And then you say, hey, by the way, if you want to be less frustrated with this thing and have more of this thing, this is how you do it. And you show people the process and you show people what they're missing. And when they get a light bulb moment and they go, oh my God, we're doing that thing, we're missing that thing, they then credit you with being the guide, the expert, and they want your help to implement that solution or to take them from where they are to where they want to be. And so then the process part of how you actually help them is kind of the final part of the jigsaw. And there's lots we can do with that. Once we have that, we can build what I call an irresistible offer. We can have something that is free for them to do that gives them some insight around these challenges and frustrations and pain points. I'm a big fan of scorecards at the moment. So the client that I was just referencing, the creative studio, they actually just generated something like 19 leads in the last 4 days and got 3 calls booked with ideal clients. And the reason they did that is because we helped them create a scorecard, which was specifically for drivers looking to go from Formula Ford to Formula One. And the scorecard was something like, are you sponsor ready? Are you ready for sponsorship right now? And they took that, they answered the questions, and it scored them in each one of those areas, like their pitch deck, their positioning, et cetera, right? And then they got directed to a page where it said, hey, if you would like us to review your pitch deck or you'd like us to help you to attract more sponsors, book a call and we can have a conversation, right? So now more than ever, like I've been banging this drum for a long time, but now more than ever, this is true. And if you're not doing these things, and you're not being specific, you are going to struggle. You're going to find it really, really hard to attract the right kind of clients consistently. This is now marketing 101. And we've moved away from this kind of generic, I just sell branding to people. Like it's way too easy for anyone to say they are a branding consultant or whatever, right? We have to be super, super specific about who we're helping. We have to be super specific about what we're helping them with, what we're helping them to get more of, and how we get them there from A to B. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I genuinely love connecting with listeners. If you listen to this podcast, please connect with me on LinkedIn. It is my favorite social media platform right now. Just search for Matt Essam. My last name is spelled Essam. And just connect. When you put the connection message in, just say, hey, Matt, been listening to your podcast, because I get a lot of random connections from a lot of random people. So I decline a lot of them. But if you tell me you've been listening to your podcast, I'll know that it's you. Ask me any questions. We can have a conversation. If you would like some help attracting more of your ideal clients, I have lots of ways that I do that. So send me a message, let me know, and we can have a chat. If you enjoyed this podcast, as always, please hit that subscribe button and share it with a friend. Until next week.